around the world. I wonder would it do me any good? Until I get some money in my pocket, well I guess I'll just have to walk around my neighborhood. 'Cause I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be good so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. I wanna take a ride up in the sky and watch those aeroplanes just pass me by. I wanna see a Lear jet liner take a dive to show all of these people what it means to be alive. 'Cause I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be good so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire is all I ever had.
All right, my name is Evan, and I identify as an alcoholic. And excuse me if my voice is a little shaky to begin with. Once I get the ball rolling here, I'll be a little bit more calm. So I was born in East Bay, California, in a little city called Concord. Not many people know of it, but if you've heard Pittsburgh, California, or Antioch, California, or San Francisco, California, it's all in the same little area. So I have two older siblings. I have an older brother and an older sister, and we're all 3 years apart. So like my sister's 3 years older than me, and then my brother is 3 years older than her. So I was the young one growing up, or the youngest, and I definitely got a lot of leniency. I would have to say that. So I was always around older people. Like my brother and sister would have their friends over or whatever, and I'm there. I want to hang out because people stay fun people. So yeah, so being around older people made me grow up faster. I was exhibiting that kind of chameleon lifestyle. What the hell happened here? Sorry, my phone's freaking out. Anyway, so yeah, I learned to be cool with older people in my life, and sports was something very near and dear to me when I was young, like from the get-go. And it wasn't something like my dad forcing me to do anything. Like, no, I wanted to play, and I had a ton of fun doing it. So when I was a kid, I played everything: basketball, baseball, soccer, and then I got into golf, and then I got into skateboarding. And skateboarding was like a really cool outlet for me because my dad was involved with pretty much all my sports. So he was my coach for, a lot of the stuff. And when your dad is your coach, it's kind of a different dynamic there. And my dad really played like a coach's role in my life growing up, like even at home. He wasn't really like my dad. And like, I feel kind of bad for saying it now, but it's kind of true. Like, he was my coach, and he was my coach at home. Like, I didn't really I couldn't talk to my dad. Let's put it that way. Anytime I ever had a problem or an issue, I would go to my mom or like my older sister. And yeah, my dad just never, I don't know. I've learned to say that like he did the best he could with what he had. So he was probably raised a certain way, and that's how he knew how to be a dad was, mostly coaching. So I definitely was coddled from my mother, and that played a big role in my later life, and I'll get to that. But she was definitely the one that would say like, "Oh, come here, honey, and give me a hug and kiss, be like, it's gonna be okay." So I, if that works, I'm gonna continue doing that. So I always did that. So when I was young, I'd say about second grade, which is young, I was introduced to hunting real young too, and guns and stuff. So that's just how my family was. So they hunted just birds and stuff, nothing big. We hunted dove, and that was the first thing that I learned to do, like with a gun. And for any of you guys that know guns, the gun that I used was a 410 with a hammer on it. So it's a single shot. So you break, you open it up, put the shell and close it, and then you have to cock back the hammer and then pull the trigger. So I'm hunting with my dad, and he's in front of me, and I see a bird come from my left to right, and I go to pull up my gun, and I'm following the bird, and as I go to cock the hammer, my thumb slips, and I shoot my shot literally a foot above my dad's head because I was crossing him. And that's funny. I just remembered that, but that scared the shit out of me. Like I almost just blasted my dad's head off, and I was 7 years old. So anyway, we're at school one day and my buddy shows up and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "I've got some 22 bullets. Do you want some?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, bro. I'll take some bullets." So he gave me like a handful of bullets. I'm fucking 7 years old or 8 years old or whatever it is. Put them in my pocket and I'm just like kind of flipping them around in class and stuff. And this goody girl found out about it and told on us, and I got suspended. And that was my first like interaction at school. Negative interaction. I was always really good in school. I had that attitude that I had to like be the best, or I had to do my best. So elementary school, I had like straight, I think we got grade letters back then, but I had the best grade you could get every year. The first fight I saw was also in second grade. My buddy was in first grade, my real good buddy. And I saw him sock a kid in the face. And like being super young and seeing that up close, I was like, holy shit. I was like, he fucking just rocked that kid. Like it was a trip. And that kid, his dad and my dad were friends, and their dads were also friends. They're a big family in the community. They owned a couple of Roto-Rooters and stuff, but like the generations, it was a trip. Like we were all friends, JB and me, my dad and Gary and Mark, and then my grandpa and his grandpa. So it was pretty cool. So first funny story, I'll tell you, when I was learning to be potty trained, I was still real young. My mom was playing bridge with a bunch of her friends in the kitchen, and I run over. I'm like, mom, gotta pee. And she's like, okay, go to the bathroom. I'll be right there. And I'm like, gotta go real bad. So I go running over to the bathroom, throw the door open. And for some reason, I don't know why they invented these, but they used to have these toilet seats that when you lifted it up, it would slowly go back down. So I run over to the toilet, pull my pants down, throw my little shrimp up on the toilet, put my head back, and all of a sudden, the fucking toilet seat comes down. Bam! Squishes my little guy. I remember screaming my ass off, going like, "Oh, mom, oh my God, it hurts. It swelled up. It was black and blue. Oh, dude. And we had to go to the hospital for it. But I have no shame. I tell these stories just because they're fucking funny. Like, anyway, so squish my dick in the toilet seat. And so, yeah, sports. Everything was sports. Straight A student. And then when I was real young, my grandmother died. My grandma died when I was, 7 years old. And she was a British grandmummy. She used to feed us bacon grease sandwiches, which for those of you who don't know, like bacon grease that you'd, get after cooking bacon. And she had her little container of it. She'd spread it on toast and throw some eggs on there. Or sometimes it was just toast with the fucking bacon grease and, eat that shit up. So yeah, I was also in conflict resolution as a kid, which was like helping other kids like navigate their issues and stuff. That was me being a goody. And so like in middle school, I had my first kiss when I was in seventh grade. I still remember it was Cindy. We had a dance and we kissed, and I was like so grossed out. I was like, bro, why did I just kiss this girl? So the next day at school, she wanted to kiss again, and I told her I had a cold, and then I broke up with her. I don't even think we were dating, but fucking broke up with her. And in sports, I was really good. Like baseball was my best sport. Soccer was my favorite sport. I was hella good at soccer, and hella good at baseball. But what was it? Yeah, so in 7th grade, I won a free throw shooting contest in one of the local schools. It was like 200 something kids, and the grades were split up like 5th and 6th grade was one class, and then 7th and 8th grade was another class. I beat out like 100 something kids shooting free throws, and I won a PlayStation. Was it PS2? I'm trying to remember how old it was. It was like either 300. I was supposed to be $300, but they, for some reason, didn't have $300, so they bought me a fucking PlayStation. So anyway, I got that shit. I ended up trading it for some paintball gear, which I really didn't do that much. But anyway, I got my license when I was 16, and like on my birthday, got my license. And at this point, I dabbled a little bit. Like my dad used to take us to this place called the Colombo Club. It was like a men's club, and we would have dinners there every month. And he used to feed me wine. I would drink red wine, and like it wasn't a big deal then, but like I noticed how it made me feel. Like I felt the effects of it, and it was like, you know, I was a super high strung kid, like always fucking playing sports, doing great in school. So like my brain was like always just like going full time. And I remember like drinking that shit and then asking my dad for another glass. And he was like, no, like I just gave you a glass. And then I remember sneaking it in my water glass and mixing wine and water. And I drank like, I don't know, 2 or 3 cups of that. And I was fucking buzzed. Like my dad was laughing at me. My grandpa was laughing at me. I was like walking all goofy and shit. And he was like, when you go home, go straight to bed. I don't want your mother finding out. So like that was my first like introduction to drinking. And when I was a sophomore, like I said, I got my license on my birthday. I was like, I was either going to be really, really young for the grade that I was in, and be a grade higher, or I was going to be really old for my grade and be a grade lower because my birthday is October 1st. So I chose to be older in the lower class. So I got my license before a lot of people. And MySpace, for everybody who remembers MySpace, I met this girl on there. I don't remember how it even came about, but I met this girl named Marciana, this Italian girl, and we were messaging back and forth and ended up start texting each other, whatever. And she lived like 30 minutes away from me. So I just got my license. I met this chick. I'm 16 years old and she's in college. She's in her first year in college. And again, this is like due to my knowing how to hang out with older people kind of shit. I felt hella cool. I was like, yeah, my girlfriend's 18 or 19 or however old she was. And this was like the first week of me having a license. So I drive and gone until like 2 in the morning. And my mom was pissed. I got home. She fucking reamed me, blah, blah, blah. And then that weekend, my buddy from the baseball team came over, and my brother was of drinking age at this time. So he had like a full bar in his bedroom. He had like every alcohol you could think of, just sitting in his room. And he doesn't have a problem with anything. He was, you know, he's able to hold his shit. So my buddy comes over and everybody goes to bed. My sister lived there at the time. So it was my parents, my sister, me, and my buddy. And I'm like, let's go fucking get some drinks. And he was like, sweet. So we started drinking. Okay. Sorry about that. So anyway, we're drinking Jack and Coke out of cans. And I was already pretty fucking drunk. And I told my buddy, I was like, this is it, bro. Like, let's go to bed, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, all right, cool, cool. So we were sleeping on the couches in the living room. All of a sudden, I fucking wake up and he's holding a can under my nose. And he's like, hey, bro, I made another one, or I'm still drinking. And it was like an hour later. And I was like, bro, you need to fucking go to bed. Like, we're 16 years old. I was like, go to fucking bed. So then I wake up to the sound of throwing up. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I look over and he's sitting up straight, just passed out, smashed, throwing up on himself. And like slow throw up. So I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm hammered. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? It's going all the way down his shirt. It's in the couch. It's like everywhere. And mind you, we had Jack in the Box tacos and fucking Jack Daniels whiskey. It was disgusting. So my happy ass decides I go to my room, I grab a t-shirt, I come back out. He's still passed out. He won't wake up and he's still throwing up. I grab him by underneath his arms and I start dragging him down the hallway. Now, mind you, it's like 2 a.m. and we're in a little ass house. I'm dragging him down the hallway. And then all of a sudden my sister comes out of her room and she goes, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And I look up at her and I said, "Yeah, we're cool. We're just hanging out." And we're on the ground and he's passed out still. So she fucking goes running into my parents' room, wakes up my parents. I'm still trying to move him. My mom comes running over. My sisters comes over. They lay him on the ground and they start putting their fingers down his throat and scooping out throw up because they're like, "He won't wake up. Call 911." And then my dad, this is the fucking greatest part. My dad comes walking down the hallway. I look over at him and he just fucking passes out. Boom. Hits the ground. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And my sister goes, "It's CO2 poisoning. Everybody get outside. Get outside." So I go over and grab my dad and drug my dad outside. My sister and my mom were on the phone with 911. Cops show up. The fucking fire department shows up. And once I grabbed my dad again and standing back up, like right as we got outside, he boom passed out again. And I'm like, holy shit, my dad's dying. Everybody's dying. What is going on? I'm freaking out. So the cops show up. Everybody shows up. The fire department shows up. Me and my dad are sitting on the curb, just sitting there, like both just completely out of it. And then all of a sudden I hear, "Hey, Geets." That's what they used to call me, Geets, because my last name's Geets. And they're like, "Hey, Geets, everything okay?" And I look up and it's 2 of my buddies from my baseball team, like in my fucking driveway at 2 something in the morning. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, am I dreaming? And they're like, "Is everything okay, bro?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we just got drunk." And they're like, "All right, later." And they leave. I still fucking to this day thought I was hallucinating it because it didn't make any sense. But anyway, he went to the hospital. He had alcohol poisoning. He tried to lie to his parents and say that the guy made him drink or some shit, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It was fucking his fault. Anyway, so, oh yeah, I forgot. So I meet up with this Marchana chick, my first girlfriend. I lose my virginity to her. Yes, I did. 16-year-old with like a 19-year-old. It made me very happy, very proud of that. And that was in my house while everybody was in the next room, like fucking watching a movie or something. And I'm in the room next to it. So we share a wall and I'm on the fucking futon, the same futon that they still have to this day, like banging for like 13 seconds, probably, while the thing's smacking against the wall. Maybe I got a good 30 seconds in there. I'll give myself that. Proud of that. But yeah, so I lost my virginity to this banging ass chick that looked like Sheryl Crow. Everybody was hella juiced about it. And at this time, I was still drinking. Like I was actually able to buy booze at 16 because I had this beard since like 8th grade. Well, not the same beard, but I was able to grow facial hair at a young age. So I was able to buy booze. So me and my buddy were always drinking tall cans back when they were like 99 cents. Get like an MGD tall can. We get like 2 or 3 of them and fucking drink, blah, blah, blah. And then I smoked weed for the first time, I believe also when I was 16. The first time I smoked, I got high, but I only hit the pipe like a couple times. I didn't get like crazy or anything like that. But then the second time I smoked weed, I smoked a blunt with my buddy, just me and him, an entire blunt. And I was fucking like the feeling that I got, like, and mind you, like I'm still young, but like I had mad anxiety at a young age. And like I was starting to get like kind of depression waves and stuff. But so I knew I had some shit going on at a young age. And I remember when I smoked that blunt, like everything just disappeared. Like you guys know because everybody here has probably had that feeling, but like for people who don't know, you can't really explain it. Like I just felt like safe, like everything was cool, there was nothing to worry about, and like I didn't have to think about sports. That was the other thing. Like sports took up my entire life. Like my entire existence outside of school was spent playing sports and homework. So I didn't really have like a life growing up. I mean, sports were great. Don't get me wrong. I fucking loved them, but like I didn't really have time to do like much else. It was always school and then like practice and then fucking studying and then back to school. And then this one day, sophomore year, we were playing basketball and we used to have to practice in the morning before school. So I'd have to go to school at like 5:30 in the morning and practice basketball and then go to school at 8. So like at a young age, it was pretty intense. And I remember this one day, I'll never forget it. We had to run all morning. We ran. And like the way that my head felt, I ended up throwing up like massively. And the way my head felt after, like I felt like I broke myself. Like it's really hard to explain, but like I felt like something was wrong. And the next morning I woke up, I threw up before school. And then the day after that, I threw up before school. And the day after that, I threw up before school. I ended up throwing up consistently every day in the morning for about 10 years. And like, I'm not exaggerating. Every single morning, like I didn't feel right until I threw up. And like, I find that common among a lot of people who are in recovery. It's weird. Like there's a lot of people who've said that they've thrown up consistently, but like I couldn't leave the house until I threw up. Like something about the anxiety, like it felt like it was in the throw up. And then, yeah, see Chelsea, it's fucking crazy. Hell of us out. And I found that smoking weed took away that pain. So I would throw up and I would smoke and then I'd be perfect. And also at a young age, I started getting like these fucking hot flashes. Ever since that day where I felt like I broke myself, I started to get hot really easy. Like I'd go to school and be sitting in the classroom and all of a sudden start sweating for no reason at all. And I had no idea why, like no idea why, but I knew that when I smoked, that shit went away. So I really, really, really latched on to weed when I was young because it gave me that comfort. Like I didn't have to worry about it. Like if I would walk into a room that had no fan going, even if it was like 60 degrees, if there was no airflow, I would start freaking out and start sweating. Like it, yeah, like it fucking sucked. And I still struggle with it to this day. Like they've never figured it out. They have no idea what it is. It's not hyperhidrosis. It's not whatever. Like it's unknown and it fucking sucks. And that's one of the reasons why I've been on meds for so long for anxiety is because of that shit. Which to this day, like I said, we have never fucking figured out. And also, just get back real quick. When I was in 8th grade, I woke up one morning and had these sores in my mouth. And I went to the hospital. They didn't know what it was. Told me just go home and take some flu medicine or whatever. And it got worse and worse and worse to the point where I couldn't even swallow. I couldn't drink water. I couldn't eat food. I couldn't brush my teeth. And this was the end of the school year in 8th grade. And I was in the hospital in and out for like a month. I couldn't go back to school. My mom thought I was dying. I remember seeing her crying, talking to the doctor, and the doctor saying like, we have no idea what it is. So I didn't go to school for the last like month and a half of the year. And they ended up just giving me straight A's because that's what I already had. And it just went away on its own. Fucking one day on the way home from the hospital, I said, I'm hungry. And I remember we went and got Taco Bell and I got me a bean burrito. And I could eat it and it was fucking amazing. So it ended up going away on itself. There was no explanation of why it happened and no explanation of why it went away. It just fucking was what it was. So I'm smoking constantly now. I'm drinking on the weekends. I can drive now, so I'm able to go wherever I want. And like, I was the guy that bought everybody booze, which kind of felt cool, you know. Like, I got invited to do a lot of parties that way, a lot more so than if I probably didn't buy booze. But I was cool with everybody. I had, like I said, I had that chameleon chameleon sort of way of life when I was young. Like I was friends with the jocks. I was friends with I played sports. So obviously friends with the jocks, friends with the goth kids back when Jinko jeans were the shit. JNCO, fucking like this big at the bottom, straight leg pipes. I was friends with like the nerdy kids. I was friends with everybody. So I ended up going to a lot of parties and drinking a lot of booze and smoking a lot of weed. Yeah, Katie, you rock them? Hell yeah. So at that point, kind of skipping through high school, sort of, not really skipping through, but I started selling weed. And I can't remember what year it was, but I started selling weed because I was like, fuck it. I figure if I'm going to be smoking it all the time and my buddies are all smoking, I'll just start getting more weed, buying more weed and selling it to my buddies and shit. So I was getting like QPs at a time or so, selling to my buddies. And like I had friends in like every city around my city. So I could like get a phone call, go to their house, sell some sacks out of their house, and then like get another call, go to the other person's house. And like everybody was cool with me, like meeting people at their houses. So it was a pretty cool gig. And like I started to meet like a ton of people, and my friends stopped wanting to hang out with me like in public because everywhere I went, I knew somebody. So like we'd be walking through the mall and they'd be like, "Hey Evan, what's up?" Like, boom, "Hey Evan, what's up?" And my buddy told me once, he's like, "Dude, I can't go anywhere with you. Like, you know everybody, and it's fucking annoying. Like, can't you just go somewhere and like not be noticed?" Not to toot my own horn there, but it is what it is. When I was 17, I moved into Mexico for like a vacation, Cancun. And this is why I was asking about the humidity earlier, because there's hell humidity there and it's fucking disgusting. Like when I walked off the plane and they opened the door, I think Hot Wheels said it, but it felt like somebody just slapped me in the face with fucking hot air, hot, sticky air. It was disgusting. But you have to be 18 to drink in Mexico. And I was 17, but I turned 18 in like a month and a half. So the fucking travel agency people let me get the bracelet that said I was over 18 to drink because our hotel was all inclusive. So everything was free. So I got the fucking bracelet and I went wild, dude. I was drinking all day with my parents and having a good old time. And then I met this girl. I met Betty from Texas, and Betty was 24, and I told her I was 18, even though I was only 17, because I had the bracelet, you know. So me and Betty, she was fine too. Ooh, she was cute. We ended up going out to a club. The hotel that we stayed at used to like, you could like ask them what there was to do and they would have like special offers and shit. So we went to this nightclub, and it was unlike anything I'd ever fucking been to. It was like set up like a stadium. So there was like, it was almost like a basketball stadium, like the court and then like the seats going up. But this club it was a bar on the ground floor. And then the walls and the ceiling were like, they had catwalks and stuff, and they put on shows. So like one of them was Spider-Man. They would play like clips of like Spider-Man, and then they would do live acrobats through the air. So like Spider-Man was dressed up like, you know, Spider-Man, and then the fucking dude that rides the little fucking thing. Coco Bongos, that was it. Ellie, that was it. Coco Bongos. So they did like acrobats and shit while they were playing stuff. So anyway, I'm smashed. I'm fucking hammered. So I'm with this chick, and then we ended up going there with another couple from the hotel. I called them Ken and Barbie because they were like fucking tanned and looking all good and perfect and shit. And they were from Canada, eh? So, so they were in their 30s, and like she was pretty fine, and the dude was a good looking guy or whatever. So we're up there. Everyone's got their clothes off. Like all the chicks have their shirts off. They're in their bras, and all the guys have their shirts off. And these Mexican dudes at the bottom started like looking at me, and I'm just dancing, you know, whatever. And like this dude staring at me, like with this mean mug on his face. And I'm like, looking around, like, what the fuck's going on? And like looking at the student, I'm like, hey, to my homie that we were with, I'm like, this dude down here is fucking staring at me. He won't stop looking at me. And he was like, let's go handle this. And I'm like, oh no, bro. Like, we're in Mexico. Like, I knew you don't fuck up there. So he goes walking down the stairs, and I go walking down the stairs behind him. And like two dudes come up on like either side of the guy. They're like ready to fight, bro. And before we even got down the bottom of the stairs, the federales came and they grabbed us and they took us outside, and they said, go home now. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? They said, go home now. So we got in the cab. Luckily, we didn't fight or nothing. We got in the cab, and the cabbie charged us like $68 to go like a mile. Total ripoff. Total fucking ripoff. But yeah. And then I ended up hooking up with Betty from Texas on the beach that night when we got back. Oh, that's the other part. The couple that we were with asked us to go up to their hotel room with them. And I'm fucking 17 years old, bro. Like, I don't know about none of this shit. But anyway, they wanted us to go up to the room and have a fucking orgy and shit. So I said no, didn't want to do it. So we ended up going down the beach, and that was the second chick that I ever banged, and that was Betty from Texas on the beach. Then we get back home or whatever, and then I'm still on MySpace because this was the shit back then. I met this chick called Lauren on MySpace, and we started dating. And I'm not going to go into like big depth on this one, but she lived with a family who wasn't hers. And there was a guy that lived there who was like 22 years old, and we were 18. And I'm dating this girl, and like I felt like something was hella weird. Like, she didn't live with her family. And like she never really told me like who this family was that she lived with. But come to find out, they let her live there in exchange for her to marry their son when she turned 21. So I'm dating her. We're banging in the room. He lives in the bedroom next door, right? Like, there's no way that he didn't hear us or didn't know what was going on. So she ends up telling me that she told this fucking family that I was her gay friend. And this was my first like love. Like, I loved this chick up until that point. She told them I was her gay friend hanging out there. So what did I do? I fucking acted like the gay friend for like another 6 months just to be with this chick, like totally using me. Like, I literally would walk into the house and be like, hello, to the fucking parents and shit, because I wanted to be with this chick so bad. So I straight up played the gay friend, bro. And the shitty part was like the dad was a coach for another high school team's baseball team. So I would see him periodically, like when I played baseball, and we never talked. Like, it was just like an unspoken thing. But she ended up breaking up with me, cheating on me actually. And then we broke up. Like, I could go into more detail about that, but I thought that was a pretty funny story. Oh, and her dad was she was Colombian and Brazilian. Her dad was a Colombian coke dealer, and like apparently like a massive one. Like, she said she remembers seeing big white bricks in their house when she was a kid, in the room the dad said never go into because she had hella money. But anyway, so with her, actually, I started doing ecstasy. I did ecstasy for the first time. At that time, my buddy Sebastian had like every drug possible. I'll talk about him next. So we started doing ecstasy. We started doing ecstasy like a lot. Like, we did it every weekend, and then like a handful of us would do it. We popped ecstasy before a baseball game, and my buddy pitched, and he threw like a one-hitter on ecstasy. Like, it was so noticeable. Like, we had fucking flying saucers for eyeballs, and we're running around playing baseball and shit. And my buddy had like the best game of his life. But that's how stupid we were with fucking shit. Like, people were doing ecstasy at school. I was smoking my vaporizer. Like, if any of you remember the old school vaporizers, it was like the hose. And then it had like the little thing that looked like a wooden like pencil sharpener. and you just like put the hose over the little heating coil. Yeah. See, you know what I'm talking about. Put the hose over the heating coil and smoke. So like I would put it in my backpack and put it on the table on the desk, and we would smoke during film class. Like we would hit it and just hold it in, and blow out like a little vapor. And we did that all the fucking time. And then where was I going to get to next? Oh, and this is also when I did opiates for the first time. I broke my thumb. I think it was sophomore or junior year. Sophomore year, I broke my thumb, and it hurt like a motherfucker. So I went up in our cabinet, and my sister had these pills that said, take 1 to 2 for pain every 4 to 6 hours or whatever. And I didn't know anything real. I didn't know like what a Norco was. I didn't know what a Percocet was. I didn't know shit. I just knew that when I took this pill, fucking 10 minutes later, I felt like fucking Superman. And I was going to practice still, just watching. I couldn't really do shit except like run and stuff. I couldn't do anything with a glove or hit. But I remember how it made me feel. And it was the fucking best fucking feeling I'd ever felt my entire life. It was like a wash from head to toe of just like warmth and comfort. And I had no pain. And I also had like no worries, no troubles, no nothing. It was the best feeling I'd ever felt. So little by little, I took one of them every day before baseball, and I ended up eating the whole bottle. My sister had just had a wrist surgery. So one day my mom goes, Evan, and I'm like, what? She goes, did you take these? And I'm like, yeah, I took them because my fucking thumb was broken. She was like, you weren't supposed to take those. Those are for your sister. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. And after stopping, I didn't have withdrawals. If I did have withdrawals, I didn't know what they were. Right. So I'm still super naive about it. Then I start hurting myself more and more, and I get prescribed my own opiates. And this is when somebody said to me, like, the difference between like a drug addict and a non-drug addict, like with pills. And I don't believe it, but they said when you start to notice withdrawals, when you know what withdrawals are. So I found out what withdrawals were after taking these pills, and I was sick as fuck. You know, I was throwing up. I was shaking, had the cold sweats, all of that. You guys know about all that. And my mom would be like, what's wrong? And I'd say, nothing. I took all my pain pills and I feel like shit. So at that point, it wasn't really out of control yet, but it started to be out of control. I started working at a gym, and I was still selling hella weed. So I ran a smoothie bar, and I worked in a nutrition shop. So I was selling weed out of the smoothie store. I'd make people smoothies, and then I would sell them a fucking eighth or whatever. They'd give me the money, and I'd walk out to the car and hook them up, blah, blah, blah. I was living large, bro. For just selling weed, like I was making pretty fucking good money. And everybody started to know me more because I had Blue Dream. If you guys, straight up 2 for 1. If you guys remember what the weed Blue Dream was, that's what put me on the map. I had the fire, bro, and everybody knew it. So my pain, oh damn, I'm talking for a minute. So my pain killing eating started to get worse and worse and worse and worse. It started building a tolerance. And at this point, I was still eating Norcos and Percocets and Vicodin and stuff. Now, mind you, with this, I'm still drinking and I'm still smoking weed. I meet this guy at the gym I worked at, and he was like, hey, you want to come over after work and smoke? And I was like, hell yeah. So we go, and then we go to his house, and he goes, hey, do you know what oxys are? And I was like, no, what the fuck are those? He was like, OCs, Oxycontin, you never heard of it? And I was like, no. And he was like, do you want to do some? And I was like, yeah, what is it? And he said, it's a painkiller. And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. I take painkillers. So let's do it. So he takes an 80, the big ones, and cuts it in half and crushes up half for me and crushes up half for him. And he says, you got to sniff it. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what's up. So sniffed the half, he sniffed the half, and like instantly fell down on the couch and just nodded out, fucking the first time I'd ever actually had nods. Like from taking pills before, I had energy. Like Norcos used to give me energy when I took them, and Percocets and stuff. But I never took like enough at once to really start nodding. So boom, I had a cigarette in my hand. I fucking woke up because I burned myself in my thigh. Like the first time I ever nodded out. And I was like, holy shit, like I love these. And I was like, can I get some? Let me buy some. And he's like, I don't have any. And he's like, but I can get some if you want some. So I'm like, fuck yeah, bro. So at this point, I think they were like $20 a piece. Like this was back in the day, like 2007 or so, 2007, 2008. They were hella cheap. So they started like, I guess they were already around. I just didn't know it. So I started to meet people and find like other people that had, you know, access to them. And my buddy Sebastian, this kid, when we were like 17, he had like over $100,000 worth of drugs in his house, like at any given time. He was a fucking massive drug dealer, and he lived on the street where he was the only house. Everybody else had apartments. So he was the only house. So his shit got broken into hella times. And I remember one time going over there, the door was kicked open. We walked in, and he was like, fuck, they got me. And he goes, hey, go over to the kitchen and reach under the sink. And I go into the kitchen, reach under the sink, and fucking pull out $10,000. And he was like, is the money still there? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, cool, I'm good. And I was like, holy fuck, bro, $10,000? Like, that's fucking crazy, dude. And then we did shrooms. I did shrooms for the first time when I was 18. Had a fucking great experience. I remember walking into I drove, first of all, which was hella stupid. Walked into a 7-Eleven, was like, oh my God, this is the craziest place I've ever seen. Like everything's so bright and beautiful, and it was fucking amazing feeling. And then I had my 18th birthday at the bar, which was kind of cool. But on my 18th birthday, I got pulled over on my way going to the bar for smoking weed. And the highway trooper let me go because I was honest and told him I had a half ounce in the back seat. And he was like, go have fun. Got hella drunk at the bar, then got pulled over again that same night at my buddy's house because my drunk buddy decided he wanted to walk like 10 miles back to his house, but he didn't have house keys. And his mom had kicked him out. So we were trying our best to fucking get him to stay. We're smashed. Get him to stay, and he wouldn't listen. So I got in my truck and drove in reverse down the road, like as he's walking home, and like I'm following him, and my buddy grabs him and bear hugs him and throws him in the back of the truck, and I start driving back home. Whoop, whoop, get pulled over. I told the cop the truth. I told him I was fucking drunk, and that my buddy was being a dumbass, and I was trying to get him home. And we lived right there, so he let me go. Another one, so that's twice. And then about an hour later, my buddy tried to do the same thing again, and I did the same shit. But this time, they came like 3 deep, and I was in the driver's seat just sitting there. They said, driver, get out of the car. And I'm like, fuck. So I get out of the car, and there's taser lasers on me. And I said, don't tase me. I got a new T-shirt on. And like, I just thought that was funny thinking about it now. But so 3 times, and they ended up letting me go. So 3 times in one night. I just had the gift of gab, man. I was able to get out of stuff easier than others. So doing OCs now. I'm doing oxys off the hook. I start hanging out with another buddy who did them with me. So we kick it at his house all the time. And we're sniffing them. Oh, and then one more funny story before I get out of high school real quick. Senior year, me and 2 buddies from my baseball team decided to egg the bus of the football team that was driving home from their game. So my buddy was an insider on the bus. He called us right as they were coming down the street, passing my buddy's house, and 4 of us all throw eggs at the bus. And come to find out that same night, we hit the only black kid that was on the football team. All of us, or 3 of us, hit him with the egg. Nobody else got hit with the egg except the black dude. So he ended up coming back to the house, hella pissed off, trying to fight everybody, and nothing ended up happening of it except I got suspended. We all got suspended from school. But what are the fucking odds that we hit the only black guy on the whole bus? Like, I felt hella bad. So I'm doing oxys. I'm also doing benzos at this point. I found out what benzos were. And I told this little story before, but I got a bunch of Klonopins and we went to Sac State to go to a party. And I ate like 4 Klonopins and then I took 2 shots when I got there. And then that's all I remember. And then I woke up the next day and my buddy was like, bro, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, what the fuck happened? I can't remember anything. Oh, actually, no, excuse me. I woke up before that. I woke up in bed with 2 chicks, one on my left and one on my right, but I had all my clothes on still and I was under the covers. And my buddy was like, bro, we got to go home. And I'm like, okay, fuck. So I ended up driving home that night, smashed, like nodding out as we're driving home. And I'm doing the one eye, like had to fucking focus. I couldn't have both eyes open. Had to fucking, concentrate. And come to find out that night I walked in, it was a Halloween party. I walked into one of the dorms. They were all dressed as soccer players. And I said, fuck you guys. And walked up to their DVD collection. And just like as far as my arms could reach, I grabbed their DVDs and said, fuck you, these are mine. And walked out and threw them all in the back of my buddy's car, like in his trunk. And I didn't believe him until he showed me all the DVDs the next day. But he was like, bro, you were off the hook last night. You were fucking talking shit to everybody. You were stealing shit. You were falling all over the place. And that was my first blackout from benzos. Apparently it was a fun night from what everybody fucking tells me. So at this point, like shit's starting to get out of control. I'm crashing cars. I'm, not showing up for shit. And then I get introduced to Opanas. For those of you who did opiates and know about this, these drugs are what eventually fucking led to my demise. They were, I think the best way to describe it is like one Opana was about 10 times as strong as Oxy. But the thing is they made these drugs to be sniffed. If you ate them, you only got like 7% bioavailability or something like that. So you only got like 7% to 10% of the drug if you ate it. But if you sniffed it, you got something like 70% of the drug. So they legit made these drugs to be sniffed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. These things were expensive. They were like $40 a piece. And at the end of it, when they started making them tamper-proofed, if you could find the original ones, people were selling them for $100 a piece. I remember I spent $120 on one pill. Like that's how, what's the word? That's how much I needed it. I couldn't find anything else. Spent $120 on one pill, and that pill would last me like a day. So another funny story, in the morning, when I had them, I used to do, as soon as I woke up, I would do some. So I woke up one morning and I would used to sit on the toilet and I would get it ready. I would like take my shit in the morning and I would get my first line ready. So I dropped an entire one in the toilet while I was taking a shit and it landed on one of my turds. I went down in the toilet, pulled it out, wiped it off, and then put it in my mouth to suck the coating off of it. It was pretty disgusting, but that's how disgusting I was. It was fucking gross. Yeah, I really did, Chelsea. It was on my turd, like boop, fell down, lodged itself on top of the shit. But I needed my fucking drugs. So then I first got introduced to recovery at that point. And this is before heroin. This is way before heroin. So I told my doctor I wanted to quit smoking weed, but I needed something for anxiety. So she agreed to give me Klonopin if I stopped smoking weed. So she made me take a drug test. Well, I forgot that I just did coke the day before, like just completely forgot. So I came up dirty for cocaine and painkillers and all this shit. And she's like, hey, if you want these, you need to go into an outpatient program at Kaiser. She said it's like three days a week or whatever it was. And you meet with these people for a couple hours. It's a group thing, blah, blah, blah. And part of that was I had to start going to outside meetings. So I first got introduced to NA and AA then. And I wasn't taking anything seriously. I was continuously relapsing. I couldn't put together more than like a couple days. So I remember I ended up just not going anymore because I said, fuck this, I don't want to go anymore. So, of course, they took away my Klonopin prescription. So I'm going back at it, doing Opanas, doing OCs, fucking doing anything I got. And like most people, I went through phases. I did meth for like fucking 4 months straight. And I got a gross meth story too. We used to smoke meth out of a water bong because it was way easier. You didn't taste the shit. Like, it wasn't nearly as fucking gross. And we got so desperate that we ended up drinking the fucking meth water, me and my buddy. And I can taste it now just thinking about it. Like, it was one of the most disgusting things I ever did. Like, that's up there with fucking my, oh yeah, that was one of the worst things I ever did, was drink fucking Missy. Is that normal? I don't know. Like I said, I only fucking did meth for like, I did it on and off, but I did it consistently for like 4 months. Yeah, and that was staying up for 4 days straight. I think my first time, 4 or 5 days straight, and hallucinating, like having fun hallucinating, like woo, seeing shit. And I knew it wasn't there, but I was having time of my life. So I did everything on and off. Now I'm talking about from like 18 to like 30. Opiates were my thing. Opiates were my main thing. If I had opiates, I didn't need anything else. But if I couldn't find opiates, I needed everything else. So I was doing whatever you had. If you had coke, I was sniffing coke. If you had dope, I was smoking meth. I was continuously smoking weed, still drinking, but like I was a garbage can user, whatever the fuck they call it. Like, I did everything. So I was finally introduced. Oh, and then I was introduced to Suboxone. So I was kicking hard at work one day, and I called my buddy and was like, dude, I need something. Can you please help me out? And he's like, yeah, I'll be there in 10 minutes. And he goes, I got H or I got Suboxone. And I'd never done heroin before, but I didn't know what Suboxone was. He was like, it will make you feel better. You won't be dope sick. And I was at work on my lunch. I was sweating. I looked like shit. So I was like, give me the Suboxone. And I did an eighth of it, and I felt a little bit better. And then I did another eighth of it, and everything was gone. I felt like $1,000,000. I was like, holy shit, this is like a miracle drug. So I actually ended up getting clean for a couple weeks. I did the Suboxone, and then I did some the next day, and then the next day, and then I quit and didn't have any withdrawals, really, like very minor. But I stayed clean for about 2 weeks and then started back up. Now, at this point, if I had pills, I was eating 10 Norcos at a time. I was eating 10 Norcos, 10 Percocet, whatever you had, 10 at a time. And I remember being in the car with this girl one day, and I got some pills, and I ate 10 of them. And she grabbed her phone and goes, I'm calling 911. And I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, you're trying to kill yourself? I was like, no, this is how many I need. Like, I need fucking 10 of them to fucking feel anything. So like my disease was bad. Like, I needed a lot. And then I started smoking blues, Roxy's, for those of you who don't know. I started smoking blues. I got introduced to smoking them, and I got that instantaneous fucking good feel. So that's all I did, was I started smoking blues. I was smoking blues pretty much. Like, that was my shit. Taking benzos, doing all that, doing everything. Let's see. I'm gonna start wrapping it up here soon. So what I would do is I would take subs during the day, and I would get loaded at night. And I did this for years, like Suboxone during the day at work. And then when you do that, you got to take a lot more opiates to really feel anything. So I was just wasting money. I was spending hundreds of dollars a day. And to this day, I don't know how the fuck I even managed my addiction. Like, the amount of money that I spent every day, like, I didn't even make that much in my paychecks. Like, how the fuck did I do this? Desperate ways. So I was doing Suboxone and then doing opiates at night. Same shit. We'll wake up, do Suboxone, opiates at night. I overdosed a couple times, but I didn't have to go to the hospital. I overdosed on my own time. Like, I know I overdosed because I had 911 dialed on my phone and I had my thumb above it just in case, because I was so fucking freaked out that I was dying. And then I got to the point where I had another buddy die from drunk driving. And then I had another buddy die, the one guy I did OCs with. I had him die. He moved to Arizona and got into a program. And then he found out his girlfriend back home and got pregnant. So he fucking shot up after being sober for a couple months and got a hot shot. And he went brain dead and he died. And every couple months, it seemed like somebody else was dying. I lost like just my high school, people that I went to high school with, like younger and older than me. There was something like 20 something kids had died within 10 years after high school from drug related or alcohol related issues. And like, I mean, I went to more funerals than my fucking parents and my brothers and sisters combined. I have a lot of death in my story, like a lot of death. Yeah, man, like some really close friends died, and then a lot of people that I were just that I was just like friends with, but not like buddy with. A lot of people died. And that shit got really sad. I stopped crying at funerals, like, because I packed everything away. I didn't know how to handle my emotions, so I got high. That was the only way I knew how to deal with stuff. And like my disease got worse and worse. I lost every job that I ever had. I could never hold down a job. I would always be calling in sick or showing up late or fucking nodding out at work, fucking falling asleep at my computer. And I did this for 10 years straight, 10, 12 years. And my mother coddled me this entire time. She was always my go-to. So no matter how bad it got, I could always run to mom, and mom would make things better. And looking back now, it hurt me more than it did me good. You know, they say desperation is a gift for us because I didn't have desperation for the longest time because they would always cover my ass, you know? So one day, 31 years old or 32 years old, I forget. I ended up getting fired from my job, spent all my money. I was, you know, down to my last hoorah, because I couldn't handle it anymore. And I lost the little thing I was going to show you, but I was walking through my apartment complex looking for refries. That's how bad it got. I didn't even have money to get a cigarette. And I found this little like necklace on the ground, and it said, those who believe in magic, those who don't believe in magic will never find it. I was like, what the fuck, bro? I was like, this is so trippy. And that next day, I ended up getting in my car. I had expired registration, didn't have insurance. Went to go get my last sack that I could afford. And then that night, I called my mom and said, I need help. And this is the first time I ever said I need help. My parents knew I was a drug addict. I knew I was a drug addict. But I was always raised to be, you know, pick or lift yourself up by your bootstraps. You know, don't show weakness, that kind of stuff. So I was always afraid to say I needed help until that day. I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, I didn't really want to kill myself, but I didn't want to live. Like, I was completely okay with not waking up if that's what happened. I would take drugs and pop pills and just be like, well, if I don't wake up, that's cool. Like, I can't take it anymore. You know, every relationship I'd failed, I'd been cheated on. I didn't have a girlfriend for like 8 years straight because of my addiction and because being cheated on. I didn't want to give myself to anybody. I didn't want to trust anybody. So at that point, I told my mom I needed help. We called Kaiser. I got into an outpatient program. I got sober like on my own multiple times throughout my disease, but I always went back to it. But I consistently, when I wouldn't sleep, when I would kick opiates, you don't sleep. Everybody knows this. I didn't sleep for 6 days while I was going to these classes every day, 6 days. And then I finally fell asleep after they gave me a boatload of Seroquel. Finally got some sleep. I was in my outpatient program for about 6 months, stayed sober, didn't do anything. And then my buddy's anniversary from him dying, my first buddy, came up, and I ended up drinking a bunch of codeine and didn't do anything. And I got mad, and I said, well, I already fucked up, so I'm going to go get some heroin. So went back on it. I was still going to this outpatient program, and they would randomly drug test you. I got lucky for about a month and was able to use fake piss a couple times. And then I got caught and started back over in the program. And then I got a job doing security, private security, and I was working nighttime, morning, all through the day. So I ended up falling off the wagon again, and I was eating Adderall to stay up, and I was smoking meth to stay up, and then I was eating Xanax bars to sleep. And all this while I'm still in my my like 1 day a week program at this time. So then I got caught again because I went to my class, but instead of going to class, I decided to dig through the dirt and look for treasures because I was fucking spagacked out of my mind. And I'm in front of the rehab facility on my stomach in the bushes, digging through the dirt with my knife, looking for shiny stuff. And the counselors came out and they were like, hey, Evan, are you okay? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm looking for cleaning up for used syringes. I'm finding used syringes and throwing them away. And they were like, well, this behavior is pretty normal with people who do methamphetamines and uppers. And I'm like, no, I'm good, bro. Like, I'm not on anything. So then the next day I ended up coming clean. And then on my birthday, 2019, this is still while being in the program. My parents think I'm still good for the most part. And then I gnawed out at my house where I was living, and my mom was like, you're on drugs again. And I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. She's like, yes, you are. And she said, you're going to go to rehab. So I ended up going to inpatient rehab for 60 days. And that's where I met the girl that I was dating until recently here. The girl that I had sex with at my rehab and put her head through the wall. I pushed her down on my bed because I was super horny, and she flew back and put her head through the wall. So that was pretty shitty. But I ended up dating her. I got into recovery full force. I gave up everything. To this day, I've got almost 2 years. I frequent AA. I don't really do NA. I did NA in the beginning, and then I jumped over to AA. But my life today, man, I can't, I have my mental health issues, but I wouldn't trade what I have for the world. I wouldn't trade it for any drug right now. I don't wake up dope sick anymore. I don't go to bed freaking out because I don't have anything for tomorrow. I have a job that I've had for a year and a half, and hey, never got fired from it yet. I show up to work. I try to do the next right thing, and I'm not perfect by any means. I'm far from it, but I've got friends in the program that know when I'm fucking up, and they call me out on my shit. And if I don't show up, they worry about me and they say, hey, is everything okay? And I've never had that before. I could tell the truth now. I don't have to lie about stuff. And I give great advice. Thanks, Jenny. I appreciate that. But I don't have to lie about anything anymore. You know how much time I spent trying to remember my lies to get my story straight? Like that plus the amount of time to procure drugs. Like my days, if I wasn't doing drugs, I was thinking about when or where I would get my next stuff. Like every minute of the day was spent either doing drugs or trying to find it or thinking about it. Like I couldn't, someone said they wanted to go camping. I couldn't say yes because I'd have to think about, oh shit, do I have enough stuff to get through the weekend? Blah, blah, blah. Like today I can go do stuff. I can spend time with my family
and they know that I'm there. I'm not wasting their time anymore. I'm not keeping my mom up at night crying because she doesn't know if I'm going to come home, or if she's going to get a call from the police department saying we found your son dead, or your son crashed a car and he's dead. Thanks, Monique. I'm wrapping it up right now. But today I have a good life. I'm single and I plan to stay that way for a while. And finding Dopey, you guys fucking saved my ass. This is a whole different platform that I'm used to, and I love you guys. Like, it's very open here and it's very chill, and I'm glad I found you guys. And I'll leave it at that. My name's Evan. Thanks, guys.
Take a walk around the world. I wonder would it do me any good until I get some money in my pocket. Well, I guess I'll just have to walk around my neighborhood. 'Cause I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be good so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. I wanna take a ride up in the sky and watch those aeroplanes just pass me by. I wanna see a Lear jetliner take a dive to show all of these people what it means to be alive. 'Cause I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be good so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire is all I ever had. And my shadow is getting smaller and smaller, and I know where I stand. My shadow is getting smaller and smaller, and I know where I stand. Wonder would they pay me any mind when I leave this busted city far behind. I'll take the high road, however far it climbs. 'Cause peace and love are very bad, they're hard to find. I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be good so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. I wanna be so bad. I wanna